Hey guys, we're live on the moon. It's a Saturday night, about 20 minutes to 11, and I'd like to welcome you to my nightly survey of the moon. My name is Bill Bryson, and I try to get out and look at the moon every night and see what I can see. The skies are clear, no clouds. It's about high 60s, and the moon is it's bright. And we're going to do this survey with my high definition camera and no moon filter. I'm using a Celestron Nexstar 8SE. That's an 8-inch Schmidt-Carradine telescope. And as you can see, let me just camp on this for a minute. This is absolutely stunning. Stunning, stunning stuff. Look at all those little craters. When you're looking at this moon, up is up and down is down. If you're looking at it in the sky right now, that's what you see. To the right here is the shadow line. And as you're looking at the moon, the shadow line kind of goes from 12 o'clock to 4. And this is kind of like the 4 o'clock. We're going to work our way up the shadow line initially. And I'll do a what I call a circumference survey of the moon that gives us a really good perspective of what the moon is like. I've been on this moon for about an hour, and I did pick up a lot of UFO activity on the moon. I was waiting for the atmospherics to settle down, and right now they're to the point where I think I get a pretty good in-focus picture. That movement you see is the atmospherics. It's not the wind. There's no wind tonight. It's just the atmosphere between here and the moon does cause some in-out distortion. I do have a little control over the camera. Let me try to just raise the exposure up just a dab. And when I do that, you can see it brings out some of the detail at the edge of the shadow line. Matter of fact, I'll leave it like that for right now. The thing that really bugs me about the moon is these right in the middle of these perfectly good craters is this pile of rocks, or I don't know what it is, but it just seems so abnormal. Matter of fact, there are a lot of strange things about the moon that I just don't understand. Last night I made a video of the moon, and I had a lot of UFO activity, and in one particular case there was in the bottom left corner of the moon, there was one area that it seemed like these two flying saucers were flying from. So I made a separate video of that and did a slow motion of it. Now let me raise the exposure just a dab to see if I can. Now when I did that, you can see the details of this, what I call a hornet nest crater. See how it has these walls that kind of go straight up? I call it a hornet nest crater because it looks like it's a hornet nest, and then see that thing in the middle. It's just the strangest thing you ever did see. But when I do raise the exposure up, you can see below how it washes out. So I'm going to drop it down now like that. My theory is if I do this survey every day that I possibly can, I'm going to see things up there and I'll record them on film, on video, in high definition. This is what they call a mar, or a sea or an ocean on the moon. I think at one time they had water on the moon, or they had some kind of liquid at least. And I believe if you can look at that surface, it looks like it's a crystal lake. I call it a crystal kind of a surface because you can kind of see below the surface. The scientists will say that it's just sand, but it, to me, looks more like it's translucent. And it's absolutely beautiful when you get right down to it. This is just like if I was flying you around the moon in a spaceship and you're looking out. There's a UFO that flew uh, left, right there, to right off the screen. I've been seeing these all night. UFOs flying all over the place. Now there's an interesting thing right there. Look at this crater. This is a crater at the edge of the Mar, and you can see it looks like half the crater was under the surface of the water, or the crystal or whatever. But look at this thing right here. It looks like it's sticking up. It looks like a tower right there. See that? Matter of fact, if you look back in here, it looks like this might be structure. See, there's right angles. See these right angles? See that? It looks like an L-shaped structure right there. It's hard to tell. I do believe that there are bases on the moon, and on the near side and the far side, and I believe that that the fallen angels have bases up there, and they're using them to keep vigilance over Earth. Now look at this crater right here. I know it's kind of getting bright down there. We're going to leave it like it is. See how you can see the defined hornet nest, how the walls go straight up. It's like you're in Rome looking at the Roman Colosseum with the rim. It's a haunting picture. I will drop the exposure down just a little bit. It's interesting that the shadow line on the we're coming up on the back side of the moon seems to have a lot more craters than this side. And if you were looking at the shadow line on the when we started out, that would be, you can see how there aren't quite as many craters in this area. Well, it's on the opposite side of the moon there are, and you can have a taste for it by looking at what it was like when we started. We're going to do a circumference survey of the moon initially here, and and then we'll do lateral lateral surveys. Now, don't you feel like you're an explorer, just looking at new horizons? I didn't realize that there was so much activity on the moon last night with UFOs until I actually watched the video, and then I this evening decided to do a slow motion analysis of that one segment. That's the way it is sometimes when you're looking at the moon live, like like I am. If something strikes me, I'll mention it or talk about it. But if there's so much on this screen, there's so much activity going on. Now, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to camp out in this area just for a little bit. This is the area where I saw all the UFO activity yesterday, most of it. I saw something fly from here and go like that, and then followed a half a second later by something that was flying that same area a little lower. And that kind of tells me that this right in here might be a moon base or something. So we're going to just camp on this for just a minute and see if we can see any activity. My friend Mike has a telescope just like me, and we sometimes get on together and look at things. He's a farmer, and he has a garden in my yard. I let him use my yard for gardening. And today we hauled in I don't know how many tons of manure from his farm. I mean, I probably have the most fertilized garden in the history of the world, because it was over a foot thick for the whole garden. We're going to let it sit there all winter, and then we'll plant it in the spring. Okay, I don't see anything going on, so let's start a up and down survey. Let's do the up and down survey of the moon. Isn't that beautiful? It kind of looks like an eye, and see all the just stunning stuff. Now see if I increase the exposure a little bit, see how it just overpowers. See, I'm sitting out here on my porch in Texas in my shorts. Now I say that because I know that some of you people who are up north are getting the winter, or you're already getting snow. I have this thing set up though to where I'll be able to run and control the my telescope. When it starts getting real cold, I'll just take my computer and my extra monitor and put it in my desk. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely stunning. And I'll be able to control the movement of the telescope, the focus of the telescope, and do it from the comfort of a warm house. So I'll set my telescope up and get it all aligned and everything, and then camp out inside. There's our mountain range that kind of looks like a spinal column. This is actually a very good telescope for doing surveys of the moon. Uh, this telescope is about $1,000. To get the next scope up is, I mean, like this is an 8-inch. To go to a 14-inch, you're going to be spending a lot of money. Mike's been thinking about getting a 14-inch. There's my dragon, guys, upside down. There's the head, the front foot, the rear foot, and the wing. And if he does, then I'll be able to even get closer. And see all these, what I call points of light, how they kind of stick out. I don't think they're craters. I mean, some of them are, but I think that they're. I've heard theories that the moon has like diamonds. You know, I mean, crystalline rock. What I ought to do is I ought to try to get myself a book on the geology of the moon, uh, and maybe I'll get a little smarter on this. That was not my cat. uh, a cat had an altercation. I don't know if you heard it, but he was squawking. We got wild cats kind of running around. This is really beautiful stuff. Let me raise the. Now see how it's darker over there, but I'm at the shadow line, so I'm going to raise the exposure and see how it brings out those details. But when it does, and I lose, so it's kind of like when you're on the interior of the moon, you got to tone it down. For this survey, I'm doing it without a moon filter, and I'm going to have to drop the exposure down right now. Isn't that beautiful? I tell you, yesterday when I was doing this survey, we really had a lot of UFO activity, and it varies. Uh, I see how it's getting real bright down here. I'm going to drop the exposure down one more time. See how when I did that, you can see more detail. The moon is coming up later every day. Uh, like right now it's 11 o'clock, and for me to do the surveys, I mean, it'll get to the point where I'll be doing these uh, quite early in the morning. I want to pause right here for just a second and look at this area. This area here is an area I call Crystal Lake. Yes, I saw there was a UFO right there. That was a slow mover, guys. Like that. And I contend that there's structures in this area all over here, and I do have I took a high resolution picture of this area, and I'm going to eventually do uh, a separate video to show you what I've discovered up there. I believe that there are structures. Okay, let's just continue our survey. I was reading Enoch, and it's interesting in the in some of the stuff where it kind of prophesies in the future. He talks of a time in the future when the moon, the sun, and the sun is going to rise and set in a different location, and the moon is going to be all screwed up, and the stars are going to be all screwed up. And what that tells me, that clearly tells me that is a period that's going to occur after a pole flip. So we are going to have a pole flip. And it's my contention that that pole flip will occur during the tribulation, during the Great Tribulation, during or right before the Great Tribulation. Isn't that beautiful? Let me raise the exposure just a dab. Oh, we saw a UFO going like that right there. You say, well, that's a bug. No, it's not a bug. Can't be a bug. If you looked at yesterday's video, you saw I was looking at the moon through trees. You can't even see the limbs of trees, let alone a bug. That is either surface activity on the moon or atmospheric activity on the moon. Now look at this thing right here. Looks kind of strange. It looks like if you really look at it, it looks kind of like a mesa. You know, it's a flat surface on the top. And look at this crater right here with a hole, like a canyon, you know, open up. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Let me raise our exposure up. See how we can bring out more detail. And I'll raise it up even more now. So you can see some of the edge detail. I am not using a diagonal. And I think I get a little bit more contrast and a little bit more detail. Okay, now see how it's really bright down here? That means that I got to drop the exposure down again. And I've always said that I think these things are moon bases. I don't know what they are, but I think they're abnormal and they shouldn't be there. See, this is a normal crater where it's flat, but see, this one here it's got something in the middle, and you got some about the same size that they don't have anything in the middle. I think these are built. These are structures that are built or put there for a purpose. Maybe they're antennas. I mean, I don't know what they are. I kind of think that they're used to spy on Earth to record things from Earth. But I don't know. Look at all these craters. See, when I first started out, I mean, I could see a lot of UFO activity, but it wasn't as there's a slow mover. See, it went flying saucer on the moon, guys. Flying saucer on the moon. But I waited patiently about an hour and a half, and then started my recording, and it cleared up. It always pays to wait because you will get a clearer picture. Your end product will be much better. My end product. Now, I do strive for as much quality as I can provide for you. Look at all those little craters. I wonder what this thing is right here. So I go over here and then I push my button, and it's slow sometimes. This stuff here just blows me away. This is always so beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely stunning. Every time I look at that, I just think of the Lord's grace. And it says that Jesus Christ created the universe, including the moon, and he created it perfect. I think right now, though, it's home base to the fallen angels. I think that the fallen angels have taken over a lot of the universe, our area, our galaxy. And I'm going to say something, and I want you to think about it. I've always wondered why let me raise the exposure up. I think that Mars is occupied by fallen angels. I think they probably have bases on Sirius, in the Orion Nebula, and I mean they probably have bases all over the place. And I think that they have flying saucers. I think they're everywhere like that. Well, the tribulation concludes with the Battle of Armageddon, and then we have 1,000 years where Jesus Christ actually reigns on earth. And at the end, there's a Gog-Magog revolt, which is different from the Gog-Magog war that's going to be fought here in a little bit. Whoops. And I think that's beautiful. But at the end, we have the great white throne judgment. And then what happens? And then the Lord destroys this earth and this heaven. This heaven means the moon, Mars, all the planets. And what does he do? He creates a new heaven and a new earth. And why is that important? I think because, like I said before, I think there are bases on the moon, there's bases on Mars, and when he destroys it and he gets a new heaven and a new earth, he's basically Uh, he's probably going to replicate what he had before without the bases, without the influence of Satan and his demons. That's a profound thought. Think about it. Okay, well, that's a good place to wrap it up. Very, very, very good survey. I'm wrapping it up next to a high straight thing in that crater, which has got to be a tire, which means there's a moon base in there. More than likely. I hope you guys have a good Sunday and a good week to come. In the meantime, I wish you and yours clear skies, guys.